Almost forgot to get up. It's like, I think I could just go home now after Dave's invocation and the songs and the reading. So, yeah, it's just bonus. So, there's some space around you, so you have some space to move. We're going to move a little bit if you want to. It's an option. You can stay seated. You can stand if you want, but seated is fine. So just dropping in, we're going to kind of find ourselves in our nice, tall mountain posture. So the spine is erect and tall and sturdy. And you kind of find that your back body is your support. It's your architecture. Maybe you notice that as you drop taller through your spine and kind of draw your chin back and feel your head just placed gently over the torso, that your skeleton just holds you steady and stable so the rest of your body can be soft. So soft belly, soft chest, and a softness through your face. And if you like, just kind of take a drop in and notice just your inner state of being. It might be a bit of activity, of kind of racing, or could even be a softening, but what is the flavor of just being you in this moment? It can be things like clouds drifting away, it can be things like bright open skies, it can be things like rippling brooks, all happening as we notice our state of being. And this is the flavor of just being you. As you notice that in relationship to just being here, in the space around you. And taking a breath, just relaxing in, begin to notice your breath, this breath that breathes you. It's in through the nose and out through the nose, breathing you in every moment. And noticing your breath as you follow the in-breath and the out-breath. Begin to deepen it. So if you like, you could start to just feel that inhalation come down a little lower into the belly and filling around the lower ribs. And as you're exhaling a little longer and slower, gently contracting the abdomen around the lower ribs. Starting to feel that pace of your rhythm, of your breath. It might be slow, it might be fast. Could be smooth, it might be rough. It's okay. As you follow your breath in, maybe start to just open your hands and feel your hands stretch wide. Following your exhalation, closing your hands, your fingers in towards your palms. See if you can just stay with your breathing, opening your hands on your inhalation, closing your fingers on your exhalation. Everybody's pace will be different because we're each so unique in how we live and breathe and abide in this being. Breath is different. You might, on your next breath in, just take the stretch and reach your arms all the way up next to your ears, kind of taking them up towards the sky, and pause. If that's comfortable for you to stay. Right? How does it feel here to take a few breaths? You might press down into your feet and reach to the sky. And the next time you take a breath out, you could just let your hands land in your lap and maybe come forward, hinging from your hips, taking a bit of a forward bend, a stretch for the back. Next time you take a breath in, you could come halfway up, just feel the length of your spine. Folding back in as you're exhaling. Come all the way back up again. Maybe you reach your arms back overhead, take that stretch to the sky, see how that shifts. And land the hands back in your lap. Pause for a moment. Take a breath in tall mountain. Let's try that again. Take a reach overhead, breathing in. With your exhale, landing the hands in the lap, leaning forward, forward bending. Flowing with your breath, coming halfway up, breathing in. And folding as you exhale out. Maybe your breath doesn't follow mine. That's okay. Just take your stretch overhead again. See how that feels. And then dropping the hands in the lap and pause. Back to just feeling the breath. In through the nose and out through the nose. Now we might add a little bit here as you're exhaling. There might be a bit of a hum. Maybe you want to make a humming sound. Let's try that a couple times. Breathing in. Stay with this humming bee breath, if you like, on the in-breath, filling the belly as you're exhaling, making a humming sound and just feeling those vibrations. Let them kind of soothe any areas of tension in the body or the mind. You could stay with that, or if you like, as you're exhaling with your hum, just start to circle your torso. You could breathe in and circle the chest back, humming as you exhale, circling forward. Just creating that circle and hum. Maybe closing the eyes and just feeling the rocking rhythm and the hum. How does that feel in your body today? So just noticing here. We might pause and just take a breath. See how you feel in the flavor of just your you-ness. with that experience. You might step your feet a little wider and bringing the arms out to a T, just making a stretch like you're reaching to the ends of the earth. And for those of you that know heroes or a warrior's posture, we'll turn our toes to the right, just bending the right knee and coming into warrior pose. If you're in your chair, you can just step your feet wide and still feel your feet on the ground. And check in, what does this flavor feel for you today? Does this shift you? Does it bring a different attunement or sensation to your being? And take a breath. And if you shift your shape, bringing your arms into a goalpost shape or goddess, you could turn the knees out, kind of sink deeper into goddess. And as you take a couple breaths in this architecture of your body, what does it inspire? Reaching into that flavor of your you-ness, turning to warrior two on the other side. So just stretching the arms the other direction. Maybe looking over that hand, looking into the distance. As you take your gaze far into the distance, what does it inspire? How do you feel? And as you lower your arms down, stepping in back to mountain pose, standing nice and tall or seated nice and tall. And maybe just spin the palms forward and again, lifting the head, drawing it back over the shoulders, feeling the rootedness of the feet, spine tall. Taking several breaths like a mountain, still and stable. And we'll just take a few breaths in, reaching all the way up. Exhaling our hands to our heart. Maybe do that 2 more times if you like. Just feeling your own breath, your own movement today. Let's take one last one here with the humming sound on your exhale and see how that changes your movement. And crossing hands over heart. Namaste. And we can come back to seated. So a little mini yoga class, which can hit you right at the right time. And sometimes we need something totally different, like we need to run vigorously, or we need to just be with the breath, or we need to just feel our body still and stable. And so it's different for each of us at every single moment of every single day. If we're in touch with the shifting, changing sensations of life, right? So we're all, and I think in every moment, trying to find balance. Like, how do we deal with this body and this mind and our shifting states, and how does that, what does that have to do with spirituality? What does that have to do with, our well-being and our overall health? So, so much to say, but what I really wanted to bring to attention is, for those of you that don't know me, I'm Jennifer Lenders, and so I'm a yoga therapist in cardiac rehab, and also a yoga teacher. But working in healthcare and bringing this ancient medicine of yoga to modern science, or linking with modern science, where it is really a thrill, I think, to see what research, it's kind of funny, the research that's happening is saying, well, we're proving that deep abdominal breathing balances the nervous system. Well, yeah, the ancient yogis all knew that. So it's just, we need to have our, our evidence-based research to say that, yes, this is true. And so, which is good, because why I like yoga therapy is that then we're reaching people that might have never even explored the inner experience. And we're saying, this is science, this is biology, this is your body, this is, it's not some weird thing from India that, where they chant Om and we have no idea what they're talking about. It's, no, when we hum, something happens in our body physically. Nitric oxide is released, our vagus nerve is toned, and so there's a direct health benefit as well. Bless you. So, so I wanted to do a talk. I was really inspired by a paper written by a yoga therapist at the University of Maryland, and she compared how polyvagal theory, for any of you that are familiar with that, and if you're not, yeah, I'll talk about it a little bit, not to get too sciencey and heady and all that, but she compared it to how the ancient yogis basically said it all, and now we're saying it's polyvagal theory. So it's really interesting to compare the language and what language works for you. So for some, using science, using body-based language is a bridge back to the layers of ourselves, our internal states. And for others, the language of the yogis might be more comfortable because, well, I'll get there in a second. So I think that's really thrilling and interesting, and kind of the way we're headed in healthcare is to bring all of that together, right? So, so to compare how our neurophysiological states of being, so we can be in activation, we can be in shutdown, we can be somewhere in between, we can be totally oblivious of what state we're in at all, and then we can be totally aware of what state we're in, or we can be totally just aware. So a lot of different places of where we can be. And these different platforms, or neural platforms is what the sciencey way would be to say, give rise to our thoughts, our beliefs, and our behaviors. So whatever state we're in, that is where our thoughts, behaviors, and emotions are all arising from. So, that being said, noticing our states of being and how we relate to them, our state of being, matters. So it matters for our how we are in the world, how we are with others, and our health and our well-being. So the cool thing is that yoga is in a sense a back door. Like it's a hack to the nervous system, if you will. It's saying, you know, you're in a certain state and recognizing the state, but you don't have to stay in that state. Like there's techniques, there's tools to shift the state. And polyvagal theory, all right, let's just say what that is so we get that out of the way. But that is basically, let me give credit to Stephen Porges, Dr. Deb Dana, Dr. Stephen Porges, both the researchers on that theory of the nervous system and how we are as humans, is that, you know, we have, you think for a moment, just kind of visualize your spine. We did that a little bit, but from the base of your spine to the base of to the brainstem is your sympathetic nervous system. So this is your activation system. This is the large cranial nerve that puts us in action and tells us to go and get done and be active. And then more towards our front body, if you put your hand maybe to the brainstem here and to the heart, you can just kind of sense this connection to the dorsal vagal system. No, sorry, ventral vagal. Got that backwards. Ventral vagal. So the vagus nerve, this large cranial nerve that comes down from our brain and moves to regulate our heart rhythms. So from our brainstem. And if you take your hand to your head or your face, and just for a moment, just kind of feel that connection between the brainstem and the face. And so the vagus nerve also detects facial expression. So it's like, oh, are we happy? Are we sad? Are we scared? And then you could bring your hand all the way down to your belly. And from the brainstem, the vagus nerve goes all the way down below the rib cage into the abdomen. It wanders through the body, detecting our state of being. Are we safe? Are we in survival mode? And so maybe notice the connection there between the base of the cranium and the belly. And if you want to release that, you can just think for a moment. The theory is that sympathetic drive is happening all the time, but we have this vagus nerve, the vagal nerve, that puts a stop to that. It slows us down. It puts us in a state of, balance. It can balance out that activity, bring us more to a balanced state in our body. It can also go into deep, like shutdown, disappear. So it can be described as, so the dorsal vagal system, this vagus nerve that goes deep into our belly, is a system that helps us survive through immobilization. It's like playing possum, like shut down, fainting goats, they just fall over, they're in shutdown, right? And we find this in the healthcare system, right? With COVID, we have shutdown. People, going into shutdown mode, and maybe we've all experienced it as some level of depression, but we don't have to call it that, or just, and so when we, so when that system is modulating the sympathetic, the activity with rest, every moment, all the time. So our system is constantly wavering and sensing, even when we're in our brain, our nervous system is reaching out, feeling, oops, our safety around us. Are we safe? Like it's sensing our situation and how we feel about it. So, the ventral vagal system, where I had you touch the heart and the head and the face, this system is like an overarching part of the vagus nerve that says, I'm aware. I'm aware this is all happening. I can notice that I'm going towards shutdown. I can hold the space for my shutdown. I can hold the space for my rampant energy of the sympathetic nervous system. Like, I can hold that and be aware of it without getting hijacked, or it keeps us from getting hijacked into it. So maybe some of you have experienced getting hijacked. I know I have. So those states, that's polyvagal theory in a nutshell. It's more it's complex, but I just wanted to say, yoga has this wonderful way of saying, the ancient yogis said, you know, there's this is natural, right? The gunas. So the gunas are a Sanskrit word for the qualities of nature, and they're natural states of being. So gunas are what we would compare in the nervous system are actually in everything. So everything has activity, everything has rest, inertia, everything has illumination and awareness. So it's not just in our nervous system, it's in our whole body, it's in this room, it's in the forest, it's in the trees, it's in the plants. So, so I think what's really beautiful is that there's a sacredness about these different states. So you walk into the forest, and the forest as a whole seems very peaceful and whole, and you know, it's a state of what the yogis would call illumination, awareness, sattva. So sattva is illumination. Witnessing states, awareness states, consciousness. And in the forest, you might see the bubbling brook, or you see the wind, the clouds moving rapidly, or the birds flying in a straight line, animals gathering and gathering and moving through the leaves. So that's a state of rajas. It's a state of activity. It's a state of just like our sympathetic nervous system. So I hope I haven't lost anybody. So I'm like, why do I choose such difficult subjects? Like, can I really make this understandable to myself as well as everyone else, not just, and so the yogi said there's not just sattva, the whole forest is sattva, our whole existence is sattva. It's illumination, it's awareness, it's consciousness. But there's rajas, which is the sympathetic nervous system, rajas. There's tamas, which is inertia, shut down, disappear, imbalance, disorder, chaos. But they would say, hey, that's just nature. That's just nature. It's like, and we make all kinds of judgments about our different states of being, don't we? And we try to find meaning for them. We try to find we try to find answers, problem solving. And this is our survival brain. Our survival brain is like, gotta fix that. There's a problem. Gotta know why this is, how this is, how, you know, what, and how we come to those conclusions depends on which state we're in at the time. So if you notice, if you go into meditation, sometimes problems look entirely differently, or we look at things differently. Different thoughts arise, different emotions arise around it. Creative things happen just because we're in a state of sattva, or we're in a state of ventral vagal awareness. Our ventral vagal system is online. So how yoga tools, some of what we did today, for some might have inspired the ventral vagal system. maybe for others it didn't. It was like, oh man, I can't raise my arms above my head. My shoulders hurt. This is not, but if you're in awareness of it all, you're still in that ventral vagal system. You're still aware. So, so I thought it would be interesting, and wow, I'm already like running out of time. So the interesting thing about yoga therapy is that also we can be in these different states at 5 different levels according to the yogis, the koshas. So the physical layer, in our physical body, we can experience activity, rest, and illumination. In our mental states, our mind and emotions, we can experience activity. I mean, we know our brain like rajas, right? All over the place, the treadmill of the mind, the rumination. So the mind has these states as well. Our breathing can go erratic and shallow, and so this life force can be in rajas. It can be in shutdown. I can't breathe. I feel, I can't feel the life in me. Or it can be in complete illumination, right? Or fullness. So even our so our mind, our breath, our body, even our belief system. So our belief system can experience rajas, tamas, illumination. Our beliefs, we can shut down our beliefs like we're not budging, we're not changing, we're not doing anything different. I'm going to believe this to the day I die. And it may not be true, and it may need to change, and it may not serve us at all, but we can be in tamas in our belief system. And we can be in rajas where something needs to change. I'm seeking, I'm exploring, I'm looking, I'm reading, I'm, trying to understand. So, and then I'm moving through these quickly, but the other layer of our being, our ability to connect to the divine, our bliss state. We can really be actively moving into bliss. We can towards ananda or illumination. We can be in rajas there. We can be in shutdown there. Like, I don't believe I deserve to even experience bliss or wholeness. In yoga therapy, we're bringing in this word called eudaimonia. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but am I, Craig? Oh, okay, you're laughing. So eudaimonia, like hedonia is pleasure, but eudaimonia is like a sense of well-being or wholeness. It's not like for some who don't study yoga or anything like that, where it's like, what's self-realization? What's like, have no idea what that is, but maybe we're looking for just a sense of well-being, just around, any suffering we have. And so eudaimonia, however that Greek-based word is pronounced, meant to look that up, but is kind of what yoga therapy is looking for. So I wanted to give a couple examples of how it's working in how yoga therapy is working for general population of people who've never done yoga and maybe have some sort of spiritual practice, maybe nothing at all. Most people I have in cardiac rehab don't have a spiritual focus or practice. They're walking into the yoga room kind of like, all right, my doctor said I need to do this. Like, okay. So, and unless I get, people that have had some experience, but they usually don't. And so, but a couple examples. So I had someone recently who had John had bypass surgery and was suffering from loss of feeling in both feet, which occurred promptly after he lost his mother, who was also his best friend. He had lost several other people in the last 6 months and admits that he had not grieved or even approached the sadness around the loss. So the feeling in his feet had completely left after day after his mother passed away. And so his rajasic state, so this kind of chaotic mind and activity and searching, he'd been in for about 6 months, had heart problems. And so in the yoga class, we did just kind of like what we did today, just linking breath and movement, awareness of breathing, sensing our body moving more towards a sattvic state of being. And his experience before the class was that, he was not able to grieve or feel his feet. And so during the class, he started clutching his legs, clutching his feet, and bending down and holding. And I stopped and I said, "You okay? Is everything all right?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm just really feeling pain." So that pain started to emerge, and he was able to, so we did some different movement with the upper body, and then he was able to be with some pain a little bit, and then also feel a sense of well-being holding both at the same time. So a little pinprick into the body, a little pinprick into grief, and allowing it to be. And so being with those allowing ourselves to be with those changing states through these yoga practices can help a bridge into healing where we've really frozen over, right? Frozen over. The body knows, right? The body knows, but we can't always know it here or feel it in our being. So that was one example of just how our shifting states can determine our thoughts, beliefs, experiences, and behaviors. So it didn't have any language, religious language, or language that was like confusing. We're not oming, we're not, it was no Sanskrit offered in the class. It was like, no, it's just, we're working with the nervous system and the changing states. How do we relate to our changing states of being? How do we label them, or what do we call them? And so, yeah. I have a lot more, but it's like 5 after or 12. So it's hard to time these things, right? So, but I might just bring it back to, so maybe a little bit of what I've noticed just over the years that I've practiced yoga and these different tools for coming again and again to sattva, which sattva can be a blended state. Like it's not just, oh, I've got to be like pure of all these emotions, pure of all this negativity, pure of everything. It can be like I'm noticing rajas. I'm noticing like this flooding or rushing river in my body. I'm noticing the disappearing clouds happening, or but every time we come to that, we can reframe the thinking, right? So it might be, if it's been blame, shame, judgment, like about these feelings or states of being, we can then shift the idea of yoga, shift to curiosity and compassion. Like hold those shifting states in a way that says, I hear you, I see you. Yeah, there's like a tornado happening in you right now, but it's okay. I love you, I'm here for you. There's a part that's holding you in all of this, in the wider expanse. And so relating to it differently. So I think for myself, like it has allowed me, like every single time I shift that language, and probably many of you, I'm sure too, when you shift that language of holding, compassion, it's okay, this is natural, your body's just, it's experiencing what it needs to experience. Every single time you're rewriting your relationship to life in general. So I think that was what I came to finally, like it's fun to contemplate these things for weeks and weeks before you talk. And then you're like, oh, yeah, all of this changed my relationship to life. And I finally realized that life, I'm supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be alive. I'm supposed to be breathing because I am life. You are life. Everybody's life. And it's life expressing itself in everybody here. So, and each in a different way, in a different experience. So, yeah. Maybe I'll end with that.